To another United Goalkeeping Alliance educational session. Today, we are focusing on the final three elements of a goalkeeper's development. We're going to be speaking to the social connection with the team, the psychological balance development of a goalkeeper, in addition to the physical capabilities of a goalkeeper. My name's Eric Eisenhut. I'll be facilitating today, but we have three coaches with us that are going to be our stars. Let's start with Coach Ryan Deffabaugh. Coach Ryan is the owner of MBS Performance Consulting. It's a consulting agency or company designed specifically for adolescents and sports. Ryan is the licensed clinical professional counselor, nationally certified counselor, and he's also the former assistant and goalkeeper coach for the Penn State men's soccer team. Ryan, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Eric.
Good to have him. Also good to have Jesse Goleman with us. Jesse is the goalkeeper coach at Northeastern University in Boston, Massachusetts. He's also the owner of Goleline, a strength and conditioning and performance company specifically designed for goalkeepers. Jesse, welcome, sir.
Happy to be here, E.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And finally, we have Dr. Bill Steffen. Dr. Bill is the professor of sports science at Wingate University. He has 27 years of assistant coaching experience at the Division I NCAA level. He has 2 national championships to his name. He has 5 years of professional playing experience, and he's also the United Soccer Coaches senior staff member. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Bill Steffen. Dr. Bill, welcome.
Thanks, Eric. Happy to be here. Awesome.
Glad to have you three. We also have 5 other college coaches we're going to introduce to later when we get to our breakout rooms. But to kick us off, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Jesse Goleman.
Yeah. Hey, guys. Thanks for joining in tonight. I've got a good one on hand tonight. So we're going to talk about the physical, psychological, and social elements of goalkeeping. All 3 very important, as we know. And if you've seen the last couple presentations, you know that all 5 elements all fit in. So when we talk about physical, right, we see a lot of different bubbles here from strength, flexibility, speed, mobility. And so for right now, I just want everybody to try to remember one bubble that's listed here, whether it's explosive power, strength, robustness, transitional agility, speed, what have you, right? Whatever bubble you remember, just keep it in your mind. And we're going to watch a clip of a save. And I want you to think about if your bubble is being used in this clip. So let's have a look.
This save is, have a look at Neuer here. He just stands up. How many goalkeepers do you see guess and dive? Dive too early, and then that ball there.
Right, so we'll watch that one more time in case it was laggy for any of you, just real quickly. Again, keep in mind what bubble you were remembering.
How many goalkeepers do you see guess and dive? Dive too early, and then that ball there.
And that's that. So as we go back to this slide, I'm going to open it up to a little bit of Q&A, and I want somebody to shout out which bubble that they saw in that save. So let's open it up. Anybody?
Horizontal agility.
Say that again.
Horizontal agility.
Okay, good. What else?
I saw some strength with his right arm that he saved. It takes a lot of shoulder strength to hold your arm there and take a shot like that and deflect it without it giving in and letting in a goal.
Yep, absolutely, John. Anyone else?
I was thinking transitional agility because he transitioned from an upright position and kept his chest forward, but lowering his legs, and his arm stayed forward as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So realistically, we could talk about each one of these bubbles and how they had something to do with the save as we go through with it. So that was just a quick example of how strong goalkeepers need to be, because as we saw from the shot, Cristiano Ronaldo, obviously one of the better players in the world, striking the ball from about 12 to 15 yards away. That ball's coming in at you about 70 to 80 miles per hour as we get to that professional level, right? So even as we talk about the high school and the college level, these guys and girls are hitting the ball around 50 to 60 miles per hour. So having that strength foundation is going to be very, very important to helping you make that save without dealing with injuries, right? Because as we know, the best ability is availability. So the more we're injured, the worse it is. So here's a quick exercise, right, that I'm demonstrating that I'm just going to show real quickly. Very simple. It doesn't have to be done with dumbbells. It can be done with any typical household items, but we're strengthening here, the forearms and the whole shoulders, right? So this will help the shoulders and the upper back be stabilized to help you make that save. So as you remember, Nora's arm didn't go back. It just stayed nice and strong. So he kept it there. And then here's another quick exercise that you could do. Again, no weight needed. And this one's another great one for explosiveness, right? We're just working on single leg strength here, okay, and explosive power, working on all different angles of the foot because we're always moving on our feet. The game is played off one foot. So it's very important to develop unilateral strength. So here's just a quick exercise of me just jumping around, but I'm doing it in different directions, getting comfortable pushing off with different areas of that foot while also improving my explosive power. So those are just two quick examples of exercises you can do to strengthen your upper body and lower body around the house. Now, we're going to get into some more of the deeper stuff. So I'm going to pass it off to a different video, and then Dr. Bill's going to take it over after this video. So we're going to transition here to a little bit more of the psychological and social piece after this video. So if you're watching the Premier League, you probably saw this video a little bit last week. So that was the video we're going to talk about, and I'm going to let Dr. Bill take it over here from the psychological standpoint.
Great. Thanks, Jesse. Yeah, a couple of things, and I hope you guys can recognize the things we've got in these different bubbles, okay? And I would like you, as you go through this, I'd like you to think of these things. We generally think of these things as traits or characteristics, stuff that you're kind of born with or that you develop over time. But I think if you think in these terms of these things instead of as skills, just as you kicking a ball, making a save is a skill, these things are skills as well. So if you take a look at these, any of these separate ideas jump out at people as something that this goalkeeper needs to utilize, having gone through that goal that they just gave up. Somebody tell me something. We got somebody saying decision making. Okay, good. Yeah. They decided to go right and the ball decided to go left.
Confidence.
What else?
Confidence, like just to get up from that shot and move on.
Yeah. How do you recover that confidence after giving up a poor goal? How do you get your confidence back? Good. What others?
Speed of thought.
I see somebody chatted in dealing with mistakes. Yeah, very good. Obviously, that's not something that we're probably going to think, oh, yeah, that's a highlight. But we have to deal with it. How do we recover and how do we deal with that? What other things? Anything else?
A learner.
A learner? Yeah, we can learn from that. Even though it's not exactly a successful effort, we can learn from it. Perhaps he's learning, maybe I shouldn't be leaning right, okay, before the shot's struck. Anything else?
Speed of thought. Speed of thought, possibly analyzing where the ball is going quicker, right off the shot to possibly give yourself more time to react.
Yeah,
physically.
And can they actually read? Can they read based on Harry King's body shape where he's going to go with that ball, how he's going to strike it? Yeah, good. Does anybody see resilience? That's one that stuck up to me. What do you guys think resilience means?
Like being able to bounce back after you let in a bad goal or make a mistake.
Yeah, very much so. And that's good. Thanks, Hadley. But that's good. And that's also probably pretty appropriate for this scenario, isn't it? Okay. So in a few minutes, what we're going to do is we're going to ask you guys to go and talk about what this goalkeeper needed to do in terms of these mental skills to get back to, in other words, to finish out the match successfully and strongly after a goal like that. Okay. So Ryan, if you're set, why don't you jump in with some social?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Bill. I think this is a great connection here between social, and we have the word connection to it, and the psychological slide. If we think about the bubbles you just looked at, and you look at the bubbles here in social, and when we're talking about social, we're not talking about who has the most friends on the team. We're talking about connection, right? How do you connect as a goalkeeper to the players in front of you? How do you connect the players in front of you to you? And how do you help connect the team together for that common goal? And so when we look at some of these bubbles here, Are there any that pop out to you as important with the clip we just watched?
I feel like leader and informer would be like really important because you would have to tell them like who to cover at that time or who to be on.
Yeah, maybe close down that shooter. Yeah, definitely. And leader.
I would think manage mistakes, since like if somebody steps to a ball and puts themselves out of position and there is an opening for a massive through ball that could lead in a goal scoring opportunity, you can adjust the defenders to possibly cover that spot.
I love that word manage. I love how you use the word adjust. It shows that we have some control in this situation, right? Anything else? So as we go into the, we're going to show the clip again. And as we go into the breakout rooms, out of the social slide, I really want you to think about the communication, the managing mistakes, the accountability, and maybe the reflection. All right, so let's watch the clip again and think about those bubbles.
Harry Kane will thump it at goal. It's swerving much.
So after watching those clips, as you get assigned to your breakout room, these are the questions we're going to go over, right? The breakout rooms, the coaches that are hosting those, Coach Eric is going to announce, but these are the questions we want you to think about. So if you want to get a little jump start on what your answers might be, and, you know, hopefully everyone has an answer of their own. So Eric, do you want to introduce the breakout coaches?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So guys, we have 6 goalkeeper coaches from around the country helping us out tonight. We have Coach Mackenzie Pinto, who is the goalkeeper coach on the Women's Arcadia University soccer team. She's also the owner of Between the Posts outside of Philadelphia. We have Chad Prickett, who is the goalkeeper coach at the Ohio Wesleyan University for men and women. He's also the owner of Columbus Goalkeeper Academy in Columbus, Ohio. We have Mark Duffield, who is the head coach at Penn State New Kensington. He's also the director of goalkeeping at a local club here in Pittsburgh. Paul Blodgett, owner of the Paul Blodgett Goalkeeper Training School. He's also the New Jersey ODP director of goalkeeping. We have Bill Bertner, who's the director of goalkeeping at a local club here in Pittsburgh. And then myself, Eric Eisenhut. I am the goalkeeper coach with the Robert Morris University Women's team, as well as the owner of the GK Icon Academy's USA Goalkeeping Academy. So you will have one of us 6 as your team. Coaches, again, make sure everyone is off the video, or make sure the video is on. Let me rephrase so everyone can see everybody. Ask everyone for a quick introduction, and also please make sure it is known that you will choose people when we are not only in our groups, but also when we return and we're debriefing with everybody. It is an option to choose people to speak. So goalkeepers, be prepared to step out of your comfort zone and please speak to the questions. I'm going to turn it over right now quickly to Coach Sam, and he's going to put everyone in their breaks. We'll see everyone in 10 minutes. Thank you. Or in the breakout rooms.
Okay, guys, as Eric said, yeah, cameras on, unmute yourself, get involved. Okay, very interactive, this part. There's no wrong answers, so express your opinions, your feelings, okay, and then be ready to present back to the group with what you've been talking about in about 10 minutes time. There should be a join button on your screen now. Just click that button and it will send you through to your breakout room. And I'll give you a 1-minute warning towards the end. Use that 1 minute, okay, and then return when the 1 minute is up.
As soon as Coach Sammy is recording, we're good. So I'll turn it over to one of the coaches, Coach Ryan.
So appreciate everyone kind of going to those breakout rooms, and hopefully we were having a lot of communication and to connect the 2 slides of psychological and social bravery. Were we brave enough to speak up and share what we think and communicate what was on our mind? That's a big trait for our goalkeepers to be brave in the face of fear. Doesn't mean fearless, but can we be brave and step up and communicate? So with that said, I would love to hear some of the thoughts from question number 1. So like after this goal, how does the goalkeeper communicate to the team? How does the goalkeeper demonstrate accountability? And why is that important?
I can
Coach,
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I could jump in because Garrett, do you want to talk about what we mentioned in our breakout room?
Sure. So we said that you do have to accept accountability. So like you have to say, yeah, that was my bad, but you also have to tell your defenders that, like, hey, someone has to step up to that. Like you can't give the striker that much room right in front of the net.
Great. Yeah, I love it, because if we're asking them to be accountable for something, we also have to be accountable for our piece, right? And that communication, that two-way, can be very powerful. Great.
Veronica, from our group, what did you say?
I said that as soon as that goal happens, you have to keep it positive. You can't get angry right away, because as soon as you're angry or your teammates are angry and everything's negative, your game will start to break down and more and more mistakes will happen. And if there was a mistake, if it was a defender, you pull them aside and be like, hey, just watch for that next time. Maybe step it up or be more aggressive.
Awesome. That's a great example of managing that mistake. Thank you.
To continue with that, Coach Ryan, I want to ask my group. I'm going to specifically ask Maya. Maya, what was Coach Taylor talking about regarding the goalkeeper's role after a goal like that with the rest of the team?
To kind of like your body language, and to try and give a positive, almost like vibe to your teammates, because reminiscing on it isn't going to help anybody. So just kind of continue talking positively to your teammates and get them out of that.
And what about the meeting? Remember the meeting that we quickly talked about?
Oh yeah. Like bring maybe like the players in to kind of talk with them and reflect on what kind of happened and move on from that.
I love that purposeful how to move forward idea. Like here, maybe we have a key word or something that we say as a team that reminds us to move forward from here and be resilient. Good. Any other coaches, any other goalkeepers who are from any group have any other thoughts on that question? And then we'll bounce to the second question.
John, do you want to answer a little bit from our group?
Yeah, I got that. So we said for the first question about communicating accountability, you have to let the team know to not dwell on that mistake, and that it was a team effort in the fault, but you also have to keep the motivation alive in the team, because like you're the leader on the field. It's the responsibility of the goalkeeper. They can see literally everything. So it's their job to keep the motivation there, so the team does not slip on one mistake.
Definitely. I love that. And you're kind of touching into resilience there. And we can't really be resilient if we're not accountable first, right? We got to face it. We got to own it. And that allows us to move forward from it and bounce back, like Dr. Bill referenced. So with that, I appreciate all your answers. Very, very spot on. I'll kind of turn it to Dr. Bill for the second question, or anything he wants to chime into on.
I think this is good, because those things are kind of transferring, perhaps overlapping a little bit with the second question. What kind of procedures, interventions, what do people do to handle a mistake like this? One of the things people will say, that people that aren't goalkeepers will say, oh, don't worry about it, forget about it, which is, of course, you'd like to do that, but you can't. And you also should probably remember that for training in the future, that maybe that's something you need to train, but you can't dwell on it in the remainder of the game. So what do people do to help themselves get past, having a bad goal? What are some of the things people do? Tyler from our group. Tyler? You had a good answer.
I'm sorry. Could you repeat the question?
Yes, question number 2. How does it go?
Tyler,
what do you do if you have a mistake? What do you do to get past it and not dwell on it?
Oh, yeah. So I always have like this specific ritual or kind of sequence of like things that I do to kind of forget about it. I'm not sure if that's something everybody does, but something that I do personally. And then usually it's a mistake within the midfield or the defense, not necessarily an individual mistake. So I'll try and organize my team and see what we did and analyze what we did to like kind of improve like within the moment.
To make sure it doesn't reoccur, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, good. What other kind of, I like the word ritual. What kind of other kind of rituals or things do people do to kind of let their body know, let their mind know that this is over, we're going to move on?
I would actually like to add to this if that's okay. Sorry.
No, it's fine.
So me personally, I had this discussion with my dad actually a while back and my goalkeeper coach. A lot of things that like worked for me was taking a deep breath and just or counting to 10 if I'm really that heated, but also being like, hey, that was a mistake. Let's get over it. And then maybe tomorrow, let's see what exactly went wrong so we can analyze and fix it for the next time.
Yeah, good. These are really good ideas, I think, because again, we don't want to dwell on it. Okay. There's something called selective forgetting, meaning that you can forget some things that you select. And this might be something that you want to try and forget for the remainder of the game, but you may want to think about it for your next training session. So one of the things that when I work with goalkeepers, I'll tell them is like, either write it down on a pad in your mind and put that pad kind of like in your backpack. And after the game, you go to your backpack, you pull out your pad and you can read it. Or I'll tell them just email it to you. So you email, remember not to lean one way before the shot's taken. And you send off the email. And then after the game, you read the emails. So this is one way that you don't necessarily have to think about it during the remainder of the game, because that obviously could potentially lead to a second mistake. But we want to try and make sure that we don't forget it, so we get better at these kind of situations. So we train and we know what we need to train on. And so these are ways that you can do this. Again, I like the ideas and the kind of the rituals. Again, I think Veronica said like a big breath. Yeah, you're kind of blowing it away. That's good. Things like that really will help, kind of like prevent you from falling into a vicious cycle of just making one mistake and you're mad, so you make another mistake. No, you can't do that. We don't have that luxury as goalkeepers. So I think those are very good. Having done that, then I think, Jesse, this will take us to the third question. Okay.
Yep.
Now, if you want to jump in with people and try and get some thoughts in terms of what they want the teammates to think.
Yeah, so I know it's easy to get down on yourself if perhaps the goal is one that you should have saved. But speaking of that, if you were a field player, looking back on you as a goalkeeper, if you're a field player, how would you want to see your goalkeeper react? So I'll turn that over to Chad. Why doesn't your group take it over?
Perfect. Liam, do you mind sharing your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So for me, if I was a field player, I'd want to see the goalie own up to their mistake, but then also stay involved with the team and continue to communicate so that type of stuff doesn't happen again.
Yep, very good.
Jesse, I got a question. So we kind of brought up the question towards the end of our conversation about like what time of the game, I don't know if you can see that, what time of the game was that goal? What was the score at that point? Because that might change your teammates, how they move forward, as well as the goalkeeper. Obviously it should remain the same, but just the way, maybe their confidence, the way they motivate them moving forward for the remainder of the game. So that was something we wanted to kind of look back at.
I want to say it was like 0-0 at that time, probably like halfway through the first half, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah, Jesse's right there. It's and we'll show a clip later. You'll see a couple saves he makes first, and then the mistake goes in.
Okay.
And they go down 1-0. And so, yeah, it's an important part of the game there.
Very cool.
So, Kenzie, because you volunteered, does anyone from your group want to answer if they were a field player looking back on their goalkeeper? How would they want their goalkeeper to react?
Yeah, John, do you want to jump on that again, or anybody from the group?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
So, I actually talked about this with my goalkeeper coach, and also some of my coaches in general, that if you, like, as a field player, if you look back on your goalkeeper and he is like, and he's like breaking down because he made a mistake, it puts like an oh no feeling in everybody, and and that is not good at all, because one, it lowers everyone else's confidence on the field, not just the goalkeepers, and therefore it will make your team perform worse and possibly give up more mistakes, which kind of goes back to the accountability part, where you have to keep the motivation in your team there and not dwell on one mistake.
Yep.
I think that was a great expression, the oh no moment. Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah, I don't think anybody really wants to see a mopey goalkeeper walking around their 18, right? So it's important to think about that. But the other thing too that I want to ask now is, where do you think this resilient mindset and this dealing with mistakes, where do you think that preparation, where do you think that all begins? I'll leave it open to
Me again? Or
anybody.
I'm making the mistake in the first place.
Did you say not making that?
No, making the mistakes in the first place.
Okay, making it. Yep. Where else do we think? What's something that you do every day in a team environment, or while you're in season? Don't you guys train together?
Train.
Yeah, there we go. Right. The best time to make mistakes is probably in training, I would say. Right. So, when you're in training, instead of feeling some type of pressure to always perform, right, I think it's important to understand and really be present in that training moment and understand that if you make a mistake, it's okay, because you're in training and now the mistake you made, and we're really cognizant of what we're doing in a training environment to help us deal with that mistakes, right? We don't just get a resilient mindset just by, stepping into a game and playing, because a lot of things go wrong and you'll see those mistakes over and over again in training. So the more we do something, hence the training environment, and this also goes to the physical part, right? The more you lift weights, the more you do anything, the more resilient you become with your mistakes and dealing with those mistakes.
Can I add something to that? Sorry. I noticed that, me personally, when I go into practices or games, goalkeepers kind of take that leadership role. I don't know if it's for anyone else, but for me especially, it's so with my team, when it comes to practices, if we're not giving our 100% or trying to process the drill that we're doing that we can use in a game, I'll be like, hey, let's pick it up. Let's focus on the drill. Let's perfect it as much as we can. If it's a mistake, who cares? Move on. Let's make it better. Or if it's in a game, that leadership role, they're looking at you and what you're going to say and how you're going to fix it. If you're that goalkeeper coming off as, oh, I don't care, they're also not going to care. But if you're also going to come off as, oh, this is horrible, and you're going to be very negative, they're also going to come off negative. So it has to be that happy medium where you want them to push themselves to be the best. And yeah.
Nice. Veronica, I like that. And Jesse, can I ask someone in my group a question to piggyback off of what Veronica said?
Yep.
Satiri, I want you to talk about the opposite effect. If a goal is let in, there is a negative response that you specifically mentioned, and then we talked about why not to do that. Can you detail that for us, please?
Yes. So usually I do a frustration pound on the ground to get the anger out, and it's negative because people see that you're breaking down, and they don't want to see that, and they think you might be able to do, or you might do it again, and they want a positive keeper, and that won't think about what happened.
And what do we think was the right response? Let me turn it over to Tom and Paxton, because you both had the same response. What was yours, guys?
Bounce around and take a few jumps around to try and shake that off.
Good. And then Maya, what was yours real quick before I pass over to Dr. Bill for his 2 cents on that?
Mine was, I kind of snap my fingers a little bit, and along with snapping my fingers, I'll kind of look around and ground myself by looking at details in my glove and just kind of get myself back in my mind.
Awesome. And Coach Taylor summed it up real well. He mentioned 3 things. Make sure you're composed, it's positive, and whatever you say is impactful to the team. I thought that was an awesome way to finish it from our group. Cool.
No, I think those are all very good points. I think a couple people mentioned communication. I think that's an important thing to remember. Some of the simple things, maybe it was Maya that said, make sure you're up. Because think about when somebody makes a mistake, what happens to their shoulders? They tend to drop, they tend to droop. And again, you can see that. That's the oh-no moment. So you've got to make sure as a goalkeeper, and as I think maybe it was Veronica mentioned, as a leader, that you're standing straight, you're up and jumping, and you're ready to go. And by sending that, you're also letting your teammates know that, yeah, we're still here. We're still going to battle. We're still going to go. And I think that's an important thing, just even the physical as well as the verbal communication you send to your teammates is really important in these couple of moments. They know that you probably feel as bad as anybody, but yet you can get up, you're going to go at it, you're going to battle again. And that can help a team not get down and avoid kind of like some of the things people have been talking about. So I think you guys have made some really good points.
Yeah.
Hey guys, can I jump in real quick? I wanted to piggyback off of Eric's point and what we do as goalkeepers when there's a negative reaction to something or a mistake. And I had some really good conversation in my group. I wanted to
I'm not hearing it.
Yeah, Bill, if you can hear us, your last 10 seconds was just an ugly pause and no vocabulary.
Still here?
Yeah, can you start again? Just say it one more time.
Yeah, we had some good conversation in my group about how we deal with what I would call conflict resolution, either with us and a teammate and how maybe they reacted to a mistake, or maybe between two teammates on the field, and how our role as a goalkeeper and leadership and how we've dealt with that. Alex in my group or Caitlin, one of those two can speak to that conversation.
After one of my mistakes in one of my games during halftime, it involved my defenders and myself. So I brought all my defenders and my center mid off into a little group on the side, and we discussed what happened, and I shared my point of view, and then the other person shared their point of view, and then we just worked it out until we found a compromise. And so now moving on, we know what to do in that situation if it ever comes up again.
Eric, I just want to add a couple of things. I think it's important for us as goalkeepers to understand that we have a lot of responsibilities on the field, one. And two, with those responsibilities that we're also a human being. I know I keep in this discussion, what happens to the goalkeeper when the goalkeeper make mistake? What happens to the goalkeeper when the goalkeeper make mistake? It's tough. It's a very, very tough thing. And honestly, no matter how tough you are mentally, you will need someone on that field to say something nice to you or encouraging to you to help you get over that as soon as possible. So, for example, how I deal with it, it goes before these games happen. It's all about building relationships from weeks, months, years with those players that you're playing with. When they make mistakes, you don't go after them. You are the first one to clean it up, because that's what we do as goalkeepers. Because now you're saving that for when the time comes when you make a mistake. You're going to look for them to come and pick you up, no matter what it is. So it's all in that moment. You need that. Plus, of course, mentally you're telling yourself, "Oh, this is a rare mistake. It's a rare mistake. I'm going to get over it." Maybe you smile, maybe you shake it off. But no matter what it is, no matter how tough you are, mentally strong you are, you still need a center back or a midfielder or a striker to come and say, "Hey, you're better than this. We got you next time." And that helps you get over the process. That's what helped me shoot my professional career, by saving my defenders and midfielders whenever they make mistakes. That's my 2 cents.
I love it.
Coach, I'll just real quick chime in. I love that, because the one thing I remind all the athletes I work with, none of us are immune to our emotions, right? None of us are immune to anxiety. None of us are immune to fear. None of us are immune to anger. Those are human emotions that we all feel. And it's how we respond to them, what we do with those, that's important. And that's what we're talking about a lot here. And Dr. Bill was chiming in about different mechanisms to utilize. And it's that empowering moment of what you choose to do moving forward, not trying to control that emotion so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Thompson is a former Jamaican international goalkeeper and goalkeeper coach for Austin Bold FC. Thanks for jumping in, Ryan. I appreciate that. I'm going to turn it back to either Ryan, Jesse, or Dr. Bill for the next section, please.
Yep. So we're going to go through. We'll see the clip again, but we'll also see the happy moments that the same keeper has made throughout the game. You'll see he makes 2 saves before the mistake.
Son's corner. Kane, waiters there again. Meaningful save of the afternoon.
JC is confident.
A couple of moments here was nearly caught out. That hit his crossbar. As Aurier thumped that back to goal, Kane got it on target, added time at Selhurst Park. Eric Dyer is the player over the free kick for Spurs. And it's brilliant, and so is the save from Waita.
And look at that reaction by his teammates. Like we talked about, there's teammates that will come and pick you up. They know after that mistake how maybe negative he felt, and they're all in that together. I love it.
That might well be worth a point to Crystal Palace.
Yeah, that's a happy ending. That is a happy ending.
Happy ending. Yep. So as we wrap up here, guys, the last thing I'll say when we talk about from a physical perspective, strength is relative, meaning everything that we do from a strength perspective should be focused on our body weight and moving our body weight around, right? To be explosive, we got to be explosive through our body, through body weight exercises, it's not necessarily about lifting the most weight in the weight room. While we do want to get strong by lifting some weight, yes, but body weight exercises are always going to be your foundation to being a swift, agile, fast, explosive goalkeeper.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about a couple different techniques here to deal with mistakes. Hopefully no one ever makes or allows a bad goal, but if you do, how are you going to respond? And you want to be ready for that. You don't want to be caught off guard and, oh man, I made a mistake. What am I going to do? No, you have to have a strategy saying, okay, look, here's how I get past things. Here's what I do to get past things.
Yeah, and for me, I started touching on it just a little bit ago, but like anger and fear, they're powerful emotions that can take our attention, right? And then our attention is not on what we want to do. And so if we don't purposely plan for our reaction to those, we're kind of leaving it up to chance. And so we spend a lot of time on our physical preparation, our tactical, our technical work, but how many of us purposely plan for our emotional and mental reactions to mistakes, to success, to everything? You know what emotional state you're at your best in when you step on the field and how to get into that. And so the more that we reflect on ourselves and know when we're at our best, and then purposely plan for that and plan our responses, we're empowering ourselves to be our best more consistently. I love this slide, by the way. Alyssa Nair was at Penn State while I was on the men's side there. So I got to watch her train and watch her approach. And you want to talk about mental toughness? She's amazing.
Pretty cool. Well, that's all that we have for you tonight. We do appreciate you guys coming on and joining. Hopefully you've taken away some positive things here. Coach Eric, do you want to send them off?
Yes, please. Before I do want to give the opportunity for a Q&A. We have a handful of players and coaches here. Players, I'd like to ask you if you have any questions for Coach Ryan, Coach Jesse, Dr. Bill, spot guest Ryan Thompson, Coach Taylor, plus any of the coaches that were on in our breakout rooms. I'll give it a 10-second window to ask questions right now if anyone has any.
This is for all coaches. What do y'all tend to do when you make a mistake? Sorry.
I could jump and answer that one if you don't mind.
I was just going to say Ryan's probably made the most mistakes, so let's turn it over to Ryan. You know I'm kidding.
No, it's all good, brother, man. And actually enjoy making mistakes, because one, my mistake don't define me, and that's approach that I tell myself. I remember my game against the United States of America in the Gold Cup 2015 here down in Atlanta, and ball played back to me, and this is something I do every single time a ball plays to my right foot and the player is fresh in my right foot. I try to dribble the player. I do it all the time, and it's something I enjoy doing. And somehow it seemed like Johansson had done his homework. He literally came and he slid, and he almost stole the ball, and the ball literally went past the post, almost scored. And immediately I look at it, I'm like, wow, I almost messed up this game for my country. The first time my country is making it to the semifinal of a Gold Cup. And immediately I snapped out of it. I started smiling. I just had the biggest smile on my face, because you know what? This one moment that I made this mistake ain't gonna take away from all the years and months of me working to get to this point. So, let's do this 10 more times. 9 out of 10 times, I probably would have dribbled past them. And we end up winning that game, and we were perfectly fine. I still laugh about it to this day. That same game, Bradley hit a ball from 20 yards out. That ball came off my chest, and I got up and I smiled again. So that's it. As long as you're in the game and you're not putting yourself down and putting your teammate down, man, remember what got you there from day one. It's that hard work and that dedication. So your mistake don't define you. You just learn from it and move on. Smile. Throw it away. That's what I do.
I love that, like referring to detachment. How do you detach from that moment? For myself, it was a quick statement. I just say to myself, okay, that's done. Moving forward, shut out from here on out. It didn't matter if I gave up a goal, then gave up another goal, then another goal. Each time it was like, okay, shut out from here on out, because it reminded me to click back into the moment versus getting stuck in the past.
Yeah, these are good. Again, I would always, as I said, I kind of would jot down things in my mind and I'd file it away. And then after the game, I'd go back and review and say, okay, yeah, I need to work on that. I need to work on that. So at the time, hey, no, it's gone. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
And I filed it away. I've written it, I filed it away. I'm going to look at it later, but for right now, I don't care. It's filed. It's gone.
Love it.
When I was younger, when I make mistakes, I was really embarrassed by them, and I used to make up excuses a lot on why it happened, and that was very stressful and very tiring. Took a lot of energy, and made me worry a lot about making mistakes. So at one point, I finally just held myself accountable. I just said, "Yeah, I screwed up. I apologize, and I worked real hard not to do it again." And ever since I did that, and I never worried about making a mistake again, because I realized it's part of the process of something. Being a better person, being a better athlete, or whatever. The other thing I want to make sure this group understands is that, I mentioned this on Friday night, there's a fraternity of goalkeepers out there. We call it the Goalkeeper GK Union. And just being a goalkeeper makes you part of that union. We've all had the ball go between our legs. We've all made a terrible mistake at the worst time possible. But I always tell my kids that, so you're part of a group that's happened to every one of us. Every goalkeeper in the world has made some type of bad mistake. Just realize that there are millions of goalkeepers around the world done the same thing, so it's okay.
Good. Can I ask if there are any other questions out there for us coaches?
I have a question for all the coaches.
Go right ahead.
How do you guys deal with players and talk to players when they aren't able to take constructive criticism and kind of go against what the goalkeepers are trying to tell them?
I'd like to answer that, if I may. What I always try to tell goalkeepers to do is try to say something constructive to people in front of you first. Like if your back heads the ball out, nice job. They go do a sliding tackle, fantastic. They throw their bodies in front of a ball and shot a stop, buy them dinner or something. It's like you got to really praise them all the time with things that they're doing well. Then when you have to get in their face, tell them something, but you say it in the correct way by looking at me in the eye and say, I need you to do this. You got to do better at this, whatever. They're probably going to respond a little bit differently because you've already built them up. So part of your job, and I tell us lots when goalkeepers are trying out for new teams and tryouts and ODP and this all that stuff, get to know the kids' names of the people in front of you, because you use their name and then give them a directive, and it makes them actually more accountable, but makes it personal. Now you're talking to somebody, you're not just yelling something out. So that might help.
I think for me, the best thing you can do, and this is a process too, but to give constructive criticism or feedback, what have you, it all starts from the first day you step into training with your team. And that's when you need to start building relationships and building positive relationships and being outgoing and trying to get to know your teammates, because it's a lot easier to talk to somebody when you know more about them and if they like you, right? If you just walked into the team setting and you just weren't building relationships, you were shy and nobody really would talk to you, it's harder to then come at them with constructive criticism, even though you're trying to help them, when you've never really had a conversation with them. So I think it all starts from day one and just building positive relationships with those around you, because that way then you're cultivating a nice environment for them to understand that what you're saying is there to help. And again, too, I think a lot of communication will be off the field when you guys are away from the moment, because in the heat of the moment, I think it's harder to give constructive criticism or feedback when emotions are running high. So I would say try to talk to them maybe after the fact, after the game, the next day when emotions are low and you can really sit back and take things with a clear head.
Well
Like
said.
what Paul said too. I don't know if it was intentional, Paul, but he kind of said like, this is what we need from you versus like you're doing X, Y, and Z, or me as the keeper, you know, being more selfless. So the team needs you to do this. It's a group effort. It's not an individual mistake or an individual effort. So I don't know if that was intentional, Paul, or not, but it was kind of like, we need this from you as a group. And again, kind of bouncing off Paul and Jesse both said, it's how you communicate it. It's your body language, it's your tone, it's the energy in your voice. So depending how, you know, whether you're talking down or upon somebody, that's a huge thing with teammates as well, to take positive, you know, or negative criticism.
Yeah, I would say step back from the moment a little bit and understand the intention of the player. Are they blatantly disregarding something that's good for the team, or are they just coming at it from a different way than what you're seeing it? Because we could both be trying to help the team in the best way possible. We're just doing it different ways, right? And to get onto that same page. So if we step back out of that frustration and understand, oh, they think they're doing the right thing, I think I'm doing the right thing. Let's acknowledge we're both trying to help the team, and let's figure out how we can do that together, and find some common language in between you. Sometimes it's just a behavioral difference. We're both dominant behavioral styles, and we're all almost like we want the same goal, but we're just going at it a different way. And so that conversation, as everyone touched on, without the frustration, without the anger, and how to calmly have that conversation.
And I think to extend a little bit what Ryan said, I would always try and finish my comments, criticisms, whatever was, does that make sense? Yeah. Because it might be just the situation Ryan just described, where they're not thinking I mean one thing and I think I'm meaning something else. And so just to be, does that make sense? And if they say, be prepared for them to say no. Don't say, does that make sense? And the only answer you're going to hear is yes. Does that make sense? And if they say yes, great, we're on the same page. If they say no, well, let's clear that up. Let's get ourselves on the same page. Let's try and make this make sense between us.
And to that point, guys, if I could, we are literally at the hour, but I do want to make one comment. Ryan, did you have something you want to add before I concluded?
No, I was just going to add one last thing. You know, yep. It's a game of relationship. Just to add to what Jesse mentioned, I would go and kill for someone if you're my friends, if I love them. You know, they will do the same for me, vice versa. That's how it is. So, for example, if you build a relationship with your defense, your back line, and they make a mistake and you're the first one to go and clean it up, best believe whenever, and you like, no problem, best believe when you make a mistake, they will help you. Also, whenever you're communicating with them, they will listen because they know that you always have their back and you are their friend. So they will trust what's coming from you. So don't just say. Build a relationship first and become reliable in doing things consistently behind there. I promise you, even the coach will listen to you. That's my 2 cents.
I love it. Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. And I appreciate everyone staying on just a few minutes longer just to make sure we clarify these questions, because they were fantastic questions. And to be truthful, January, when we get into it, you kind of led me right into the introduction. This was the last of our free sessions in the month of December. Starting in January, we are going to be starting with our membership, but at the same time, our first month, we are going to work on communication. And we just figured out through just a couple of questions how important communication is on and off the field, and relationship building is incredibly important to the success of the team. We've made that the first topic for next year on purpose because it is that important. So communication is going to be the focus in January. Then we're going to get into dead ball situations in February, through balls in March, one-on-one in April, and service from wide area in May. We are going to be speaking to all the details of 2021 at 6:30 in about a half hour from now, Eastern Standard Time. It's a separate Zoom call that's going to speak to what the membership is all about, in addition to what 2021 entails. So hopefully, if you have any questions or concerns, coach or parent or goalkeeper, we will see you in a half hour. Other than that, guys, I would like to thank all the coaches who participated in our coaches panel discussion today in the breakout rooms. Can we thank Mackenzie and Chad, Mark, Paul, Bill? Thank you, everybody. And then can we also have a standing ovation for our three coaches, Coach Ryan
Thank you, coaches.
Dr. Bill Steffen, and Coach Jesse Goleman. Everybody have an awesome week. Do you have any questions? Want to learn more? Half hour. Thank you, everyone. Coaches, please stay on.
Thank you.
Thank you, coaches.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.